Hi, this is Mark Farner, and you're listening to the Nothing Shocking podcast.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking podcast, a non-genre based, all ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dog Bowl Studio is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Libsyn or any podcatchers. Like our Facebook page or follow us on X at No Shock Pod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. Our sponsor is Ragged Records, located in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, and downtown Davenport, Iowa. We'd like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is
Mark Farner, formerly of Grand Funk Railroad.
Promoting his latest album, Closer to Home, released November 8th.
Yeah, he's got Mark Slaughter helped him out with, I think, producing.
Yeah, let's get right to that interview, man.
All right, good night.
Good night. Mark, welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'd like to introduce you, my co-host, Jeff Untied.
Mark, thanks for joining us tonight.
It is my esteemed pleasure.
Well, fantastic. We're so excited to have you on as our guest tonight. I know we tried to get you on last year, but the dates just didn't work out, so we finally got you. We're pumped.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, fantastic.
I'm glad to be with you guys tonight.
Thank you. Well, let's get right to it. This past November 8th, you released your newest album, Closer to My Home. It chronicles the 55th anniversary of the iconic Grand Funk Railroad classic, I'm Your Captain. I guess talk a little bit more about the creative process behind this new endeavor.
Well, this version is a re-record of the original song, of course, but it's in the old school key signature. Actually, the scale is what it used to be before 1953. It was, instead of A440, it was A432. So I went old school back to 432 because it's friendlier to anything that's natural, including the human body.
Nice.
Yeah, it's let me just give you a word picture here. A guy sent me a link. There was a dude that had a 15-inch speaker next to a kiddie pool on the deck. And the kiddie pool was about 6 foot in diameter, and it was, 3/4 full of water. The guy had a tone generator and an amplifier, and he hit at 440, which is the tuning scale for the U.S. since 1953, when Rockefeller changed it over. Anyway, he hit it at A2 at 125 decibels. And you guys know that the threshold of pain is 90 decibels. So we're talking, this is loud. So that put chop on the water. It turned it into an instant storm. There's froth and waves, and it's just, I'm telling you, it was getting tore up. So then he switched it to the scale of 4-3-2, count backwards from 4. He hit it at 125 decibels, and it was like looking at a piece of glass laying there. There was, I mean, it was just as loud, but there's more to the frequencies around us, guys, than we've ever been taught to believe.
Oh,
and yeah, that convinced me about 4-3-2, which is part of the solfeggio scale. And I had been switched over live for the last 15 years at least. I do everything in 4-3-2. And we recorded this entire album in 4-3-2 for now I can say to you, so it doesn't rough up the body. Because, the body's like, what, 80-90% water?
Yeah.
And so 440, I don't know why Rockefeller did that. There's been some speculation as to why it might be, but I won't. That's just speculation. And I consider all things, because people tell me. But I love 4-3-2. And the reason I love it so much is the guy that sent me the link said, tune your acoustic guitar to 4-3-2 and see what happens. So I take my guitar into the kitchen because I love to play my acoustic in the kitchen because there's all them hard surfaces. It's very, very nice. It's friendly. It comes back to you nice and loud. Anyways, I tune my guitar to 4-3-2. I got a little headstock tuner, and it's a Diodario that's got, increments on it that you can go up or down from 440. And so I go to 4-3-2, and I'm tuning this thing up. And as it is coming in, when you're in pitch, the light turns green. Yellow is flat, red is sharp, and green, you're on it, baby. So as it's coming into green, I hear this like harmonic, like somebody's whistling along with the note. And I'm going, that is freaky. And I tune the next string, the same thing. I'm going, what? You could tune to the whistle on this son of a bitch. And it was not louder, but it was more. I'm telling you, the harmonics that was coming off the strings and how that guitar, I have a lovely D32 Guild, old school, beautiful, it's been aged, and that spruce is just, man, it's lovely. It's got a lot of low end in it. And when I tuned that guitar to 4-3-2, just sitting there, I said, okay, this is me from now on. I'm over 440. I am over it. So I've been 4-3-2 ever since. And so now I'm want to see people's reaction. Fantastic. I got a lot of reactions so far from some radio people and that say, the one guy, they're a 50,000 watt station. He says, I was so skeptical. He says, because, you don't mess with a great classic. And he says, I didn't even want to play it because I thought, man, I wonder if he really screwed it up. So anyway, so when he played it, he was overjoyed. He says, Farner, man, you didn't screw it up. He said, you came through for me. He says, I was all ready to hate you.
Very good.
On your album, besides the I'm Your Captain track we've been talking about, you have, I think, 8 more original songs.
Yes.
Can you talk about, writing new music in today's climate? Because, there's some artists that were like, I'm done writing new music. I'll just play my hits or whatever. But
exactly. I
love that it's refreshing that you're coming up with some new tunes. So this is great. Can you talk a little bit about that decision?
Yeah, I appreciate it. I never tried to ever pigeonhole or create something that fit whatever was a hit format for the time. I've never done that. Yeah. I don't even know how. I don't want to know how. That is not me. You know, I am who my songs say I am. And it all comes from inside. It comes from my heart. And comes from being out on the road. The audience is feeding me. I'll go back to the hotel. Man, I've written a lot of songs in hotels. Just being under the influence of the emotional waves that hit me and knocked me on my ass when I was on that stage. You know, you get geeked up and you never know what's going to come out of there. But another thing, guys, is I don't listen to the radio ever, ever, you know, unless I go into the gas station and get something or, you know, want to, and they're playing the radio in there. But then, dudes, that song is stuck in my head for a week. I can't reach up and change the channel. I can't. I'm just stuck with it. So I try to avoid that and go on what's inside. And that's what's on this album. Even though there's a couple of songs, the second single, which is called Real.
Yeah.
That song has been, I wrote it 15 years ago.
Okay.
And but I tell you what I did. I had a different lick that I was playing it to. And then I came up with this lick that's on it now, you know, a few months ago when we recorded it. And I didn't even realize until I started singing the song. I went, oh, yeah, this is real. This is going to be the new chords. I liked it a lot better.
Oh, very good.
And and Tiny Fingers is at least 20 years old, or 25.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, you know, the track that stuck out to me, my favorite, is the Prisoner. Can you talk a little bit more about the writing and recording of that track?
Yeah, we were doing a Remember the Child. It's Dick Wagner's favorite. In fact, he started the foundation, Remember the Child, and had association with St. Jude's Hospital, you know, for children. And we did it out there in California. We went and did some things with Dick Wagner. And Dick Wagner, of course, lead guitar for Alice Cooper. He wrote Only Women Bleed. He wrote a lot of songs. And anyways, we're doing this setup because we're going to run through the songs that we're going to do in the show. And we're at this little rehearsal facility. And I was done setting up. All I did was like plug into a twin, and I'm okay. I got my foot pedals, and they talked through Fender stuff real good. And I just start playing the lick, you know, the guitar lick. And then the bass player, David Winans, he got his bass up and running, and I was just playing that lick, and he started singing, "Keep on walking, don't tell me no lies. Keep on walking, keep your hands by your side." You know, and I'm going, that is some funky stuff there. And then Rick Murphy, the background singer, starts singing, you know, "I'm just a prisoner in this fleshy shell, doing my time, calling your name, nowhere to run, and I got no bail." You know, it was just like, it happened. It just freaking happened. And so those guys are credited with a right credit on that song.
Nice.
Just like I am. But I said to Murphy, I said, "Man, what were you thinking of? I mean, what were you thinking of to come up with that, you know, Prisoner?" He said, "Mark, I got to tell you, I was thinking about your son, Jesse." Because at the time, our son, Jesse, who died in 2018 on the 4th of July, he was quadriplegic. He was on life support. And Rick was thinking of him because the only thing he could move was his mouth, you know, and he made the vent that he was hooked up to. He used that somehow, and he could communicate just like he was talking, but it was the vent that was making the noise, and he was just, you know, he had it mastered to where he could communicate with it. But he's on the other side now. He's where we're headed. You know, only the good die young.
It was fantastic song.
Yeah.
Man, I appreciate it so much.
Absolutely.
And the whole, you know, the guys, as we're doing it, Johnny Bedanjic from the Detroit Wheels, Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels, Johnny B, he's on the drums, and B lays down a backbeat that's as wide as the turnpike, brother. I mean, there is no way you could get lost. He just herds everybody in, man. Bam, there it is. Follow this.
I love it. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you also enlisted Mark Slaughter to help with producing. Can you talk a little bit about that collaboration?
Jeff, the thing is produced by Slaughter. I co-produced. Yeah. And the way it came, our relationship, you know, developed from, we were at a rock and roll fantasy camp in New York City, and Howard Stern told David Fishoff, who owns the camp, you know, he's the head dude at the rock and roll fantasy camp. He told Fishoff that he wanted me to come over and do I'm Your Captain on his show. So Fishoff comes to me, he says, hey, man, there's an opportunity for you to go over to Howard Stern and do I'm Your Captain. And I looked at him, I said, well, how does he want it? Like, just me and an acoustic guitar? What does he want? He says, man, take the fantasy band. Well, that was Kip Winger on bass, Sandy Gennaro from Joan Jett's band on drums, Teddy Zigzag from Guns N' Roses on keyboard, Bruce Kulick on acoustic, Mark Slaughter on second, me on first. Nice. And we're in a small studio just a few feet apart from each other. So when it came to singing that middle part in the bridge, man, I'm listening. Slaughter is just killing it. I mean, he is nailing it. The beautiful, soft harmony. Him and Kip Winger are singing. It sounds like, man, all these guys got the cans on, but I took my cans off because I can't do the headphone thing. I got to be in touch with each of the band members, just listening to it as a group. So anyway, I tell him after we got done doing it, I said, dude, you were hitting it, man. I can't believe I knew you could sing, but you sang such mellow harmony and right on. I mean, your pitch was perfect. He said, well, dude, thanks. I'm going to send you something I want you to listen to. So he emailed me this, you know, some Dropbox stuff, and I listened to some songs that I didn't realize it was him producing. Okay. But it was some good stuff, you know. And so rather than to email him and get lost and trying to, you know, one key at a time, you know, go back to him, I just said, I got to talk to this dude. And I got him on the phone. I said, I'm really impressed, Slaughter. I said, whoever produced that stuff for you, holy shit, man. They got that separation. They have got, it's where it ought to be. And he said, well, thank you, Mark. That was me. And I went, what? I said, you produced that? He said, yes, I mixed it. I produced it. That's all me. And I said, that is amazing. He says, now I want to tell you something. He says, I admired you for all your career. He says, there's a lot of people that's got their chops because of you. Mm-hmm. He said, I want to produce whatever you do next. I want to do it. And it blew my mind. I went, I could have swore you just said you want to produce me. And so we started, sending some files. I told, just to show him where I was at, what I was working on, what I had as far as potential that I thought would do good on an album. And it's so diversified with so many years in between it and the current stuff. I mean, he was way into it and so intuitive as far as what to do, because I learned to trust him right away. It's not like you hear somebody say something and you try to entertain what that might be in your own mind, in your own imagination. When he said it, man, I'm thinking, okay, let's do it. Bam. Because he already had my vote as far as, production. And I trusted him it's like trusting somebody with your child,
Oh, yeah.
I knew that he wasn't going to mess it up. And what a great opportunity that was. And 2 years it took us to do it. I mean, because he's a working musician. He'd go out for a couple of weeks and come back, and then I'd go out for a couple of weeks and come back. So it took us 2 years, but it was great, I thought, because there were some things that we changed. And it took, a year for us to both listen and go, hey, we could do this here, and we could, switch that bass part out and do it with this bass. And that's what happened. And so I love him. He's an easy guy to love. He's so real, you guys. Yeah. There's nothing phony about this guy at all. And I really appreciate him. And we're both a part Native Americans, so that tribal instinct is on this album. It's in the grooves.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, your guitar playing and style was considered revolutionary early in your career with Grand Funk. Can you talk a little bit more about your playing style and the gear you use, and just talk a little bit more about that Mark Farner sound?
Well, I've always used 15-inch speakers right from the get-go with the West amplifiers. Dave West had the company, and I worked at the West laboratories making amplifiers, soldering circuit boards and assembling speaker cabinets, doing the vinyl over the top. I mean, myself and Dennis Bellinger, who actually was a bass player on two Grand Funk albums in the early 80s, a Vietnam veteran brother of mine, and we both worked at West Labs before, Grand Funk, of course. And I love the sound of those D130s, dudes. That there's just something about, 15-inch that moves a lot of air, and you don't have to EQ as much to get the low end, which is a naturally occurring frequency off of that D130. And I've always loved the tube sound. I tried some transistor stuff, but it sounds like shit to me. It really does. Yeah. It's so because I'm doing a lot of fly dates, I have to backline, and you guys know you get a backline company. How often do they change tubes?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who's been banging on that stuff before you get it? So we carry our own 12AX7s just in case it's gone. I don't carry the 6L6s, the power tubes, because those are more rare to blow. But the 12AX7s, I carry my own case. So I use, and I'm coming out. My last pedal is an Arian, one of those plastic stereo chorus pedals, Arian chorus. I think it's like a $35 pedal back in the day, but it is the widest, friendliest analog chorus. And because I'm running stereo, I run one side to the high end, which I'll either use a Fender Deluxe, or a Fender Twin. I like the Fender circuitry with the tubes. And that's my high end. And on the other side, coming out of that stereo chorus, I go to the low end, which is a 15-inch speaker, driven by a twin head. We just bypass the 12s, pull that speaker out, and plug in the 15. So I got that low end. And when I'm stereo chorusing, because the highs are, I have no lows in the deluxe or the twin, whichever one I'm using, only highs on the right and only lows on the left. And it is such a spatial stereo chorus, man. People go, what the heck are you using? It's really wide. And I've got the Keeley's Halo pedal, Robert Keeley. It's a boutique pedal. It's every guitar player needs one. It's one of those. It's a echo, but it does so many other things, and you can save. You can have, I think there's 8 presets per side, because there's an A side and a B side to it, and it's so versatile. I've got 2 of them because one, I just use it to double my axe. It's got such a perfect pitch and a perfect replication of that original guitar. It's like having, playing a rhythm track, and you lay it in the right channel, and then you play the whole song again, and you lay it in the left channel. You got a pretty wide guitar then. Well, mine, I'm doing it live, but I'm giving it just the slightest delay with that Keeley pedal, and it just makes it, man, here it is. Step right up there.
Fantastic.
And feeding all the rest of the effects, I've got one pedal that is 3 overdrives. That's a Celestial Effects pedal. They call it the Librarian. They made it for me. It's a Mark Farner model. There's 3 overdrives, completely different overdrives with a boost. So there's 4 effects in the one pedal: aircraft, aluminum, lightweight, and it's unbelievable, really. And I've got I play slide guitar too, so I've got one set for slide, and I've got one set for the stuff like inside looking out. I've got that crunchy sound, and I've got one set for like Sin's a Good Man's Brother, that overdrive in that song, and it makes it really believable, because I'm after the sound that I had on the record, and I cut those records with 15-inch speakers, man. And it's working.
Fantastic. Good,
all right. I see. And as far as live shows, December 5th, you got a show coming up in Connecticut, and then a 70s rockin' romance cruise. But what do you have on the horizon for 25? Any big shows coming up?
Yeah, they're booking right now for 25, and because during the winter is the Fair Buyers Convention and all these different conventions for people who are promoters, and they're any excuse to get together. But then at the end of these, like the end of January, they will have been my manager and my agent. I've got Jim Lenz at TKO, who is my agent, and Abby Steinman, who is my personal manager. And those guys go together and sell the act. And we've got it so not all of the venues that we play, but some of the venues that we play this summer of 25, we are going to have the Vietnam Veterans Monument, the portable wall, with us.
Nice.
And set up so people can see it. It is it's awesome to think about the lives and about the dedication of patriots to preserve this country. And even some of the patriots, some of the Vietnam veterans that made it back, that are alive still, they don't want to see the wall. It reminds them too much of being there. And with soldier suicide at 20 a day average, that's way too many. And I mean, one is way too many.
Yep.
And we don't know, brothers, what it is in their mind that would cause them to want to take their life. But I want people to understand. I would, at any rate, the people that do see the wall, because when I saw it, it humbled me. It just brought me to my knees, man, to think of. You see all of that 58,000 names on that wall. It's like, good God. It gives you, I don't know, there's a reality to it that you cannot sidestep. And I think people really just need to be reminded of what it's all about.
Absolutely. Yeah. I want to switch gears on you here. MarkFarner.com is a fantastic resource for everything Mark Farner. Can you tell the listeners a little bit more about your merch store? It's really simple to navigate. It's real user-friendly. Talk a little bit more about your merch store and your website.
Well, the merch store, of course, is everything made in the United States. I am a stickler about USA-made products. In fact, if you found my name on a foreign a garment, some piece of a hat or a T-shirt or whatever, it's a bootleg. I could tell you that right now. I never put my name on anything that wasn't made in this country, and I'm proud of that. And I try to show people how to make a strong country, because if you do want a strong country, you're going to have to support it. You can't support all these foreign countries and expect your country to stay up with them or stay ahead of them where it should be. We've watched the quality of our clothes, of our tools, of everything that's made foreign and then shipped in here to us. It's gone downhill, downhill, and downhill. It's gone one direction. So I'm proud to say that our stuff is still USA made by proud patriots that are doing our best, their best, to show people how to wave this flag.
Fantastic.
Real quickly, kind of go back to your vault. You've had a lot of albums with Grand Funk Railroad, and I think this is your 7th solo album. How big is the Mark Farner vault? Do you have a lot of songs that are unreleased?
Yeah, I've got quite a few. I was working on one today, and it's I'm a romantic. Yeah. I'm a pop song. I'm a rocker. I love to dance, man. I love to dance, and I like to make music that encourages people to dance. And most men don't dance. And I think it's just an ego thing, saying, like, man, I don't want to get out there and suck. I'll look like some kind of, spastic. But actually, if the men would just look at them hoochie mamas that are out there dancing, and be encouraged to just, get past that block and jump over that hurdle, get out there, you would invent dance moves being, encouraged and led by the feeling that you get from watching a good old hoochie mama get down.
Yeah. That's so cool. All right, we got one last question for you, and then we'll leave you alone for the evening. This is a little bit off the cuff a little bit, but during your time with Grand Funk Railroad, you spent time opening up for Led Zeppelin, and there's various stories about Peter Grant and his, I guess, tyrant dealings in the business. But the story that always stuck out that I read about one particular show, Grand Funk was opening up for Led Zeppelin, and you guys were rocking the house, and Peter Grant really didn't like that you guys got the crowd that juiced up, and he threatened your management to pull the plug on the show. Can you tell us the backstory about that? What's the truth and what's not the truth about that story?
Well, that's the truth. And that was the night after we played Cleveland Auditorium, Cleveland, Ohio, where we brought the house down, man. We were rocking, young boys. Don and I were 20, Mel was 19, and you get rocking people at that age, and you're just floating across the stage, and they loved us. The Cleveland audience loved our music, and they were showing us that they were loving us. And so that's where Peter Grant kind of got the notion that we shouldn't be doing some of the songs that we're doing. And so the following night, we're in Detroit at Olympia, and it's an indoor, big indoor arena. And we got that. This is our home state crowd. And
Right.
This is like the first show that we've played since we were Grand Funk. I mean, we played the whole state when we were the Pack, the Fabulous Pack, or Terry Knight and the Pack. And, we had a good following, but when we became Grand Funk and we didn't play around Michigan at all, and then now here we come with Zeppelin, it was like our hometown crowd was just, man, they were hollering and loving it, and they were cheering us on. It's like, great. And we're getting ready to go into inside looking out, and the power was cut. I turn around, I start to, I'm starting to play the intro lick, and I turn around because the only thing you could hear was the drums. They weren't plugged in. And Brewer's like back there playing, and I'm holding up my arms like, what the hell's going on? And then Terry Knight walks out. He grabs the microphone that was off, because I was, talking into it. I'm going, hey, the power. Well, he walks out. They turn the mic back on, just that center stage mic. And he says, due to contractual agreements, obligations, Grand Funk has to leave the stage. And the audience goes, no, boo, and they all these wine bottles and whiskey bottles and shit is hitting the stage, and we're like, oh, we got to go. And Peter Grant's over to the side, just steam shooting out of both of his ears. And that was our second and last gig. They didn't want us on anymore. It took them an hour and a half to take the stage. And by that time, you guys, I'm telling you, over half the crowd left, which gave, it gave Mel and I a place to sit halfway up in the house, because everybody had moved forward after all these people left. Everybody else that was left in the audience moved forward to the front of the stage. So, we're sitting about halfway back in the auditorium. Nobody knows Mel and I are back there. We're just sitting in some chairs, and we're watching. We watched like the first 2 or 3 songs, and that was it. They were okay. I didn't see what the big deal was. I love the way Jimmy plays guitar. I always loved his guitar playing, and he's a showman. He got a bow off of a cello, and he's playing his guitar with this cello bow, and it's kind of unique. And in fact, it impressed us. So, but that was the end of it right then, and that's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
So glad, so glad to hear it from an actual member of the band. Because let's face it, you read a whole bunch of stuff, you don't know if it's clickbait or not these days. But anyway, we're out of our allotted time for the evening. Is there anything that you would like to plug or promote that we left off tonight?
No, I just like to encourage your listeners to set yourself free. Like Bob Marley says, emancipate yourself. there's a lot of debt consciousness that's holding the world back. And if you boil it all away, that's the only thing that really has people in a pickle, is this debt, D-E-B-T, that the most foul 4-letter word in any language, because it's all imaginary. And not just the money debt. That money debt, oh hell yeah, that's a big part of this debt consciousness. Everybody's, a lot of people got the mortgage, you got car payments, they got this payment, that payment. They're up to their neck in payments. They're indebted that way. But there's the other types of debt, like the unfulfilled expectations of other people on our lives. I mean, and especially if it's somebody in the family and you piss them off, and then they start talking about you to some other family member behind your back. You don't know until this other family member goes, "Hey man, what's going on?" And you go, "How the hell did you?"
Right.
It's debt consciousness, and this debt. Listen, it's imaginary. You can't go down to the drugstore and buy yourself a box of it and dump it in the middle of the kitchen table and look at it and examine it. You can't have a 10-yard dump truck just dump some in your front yard so you can wade through it and get a good feel of how this debt feels. It's all our imagination, and somebody talked us into believing in it. So we got to release ourselves from this debt consciousness. We have to emancipate ourselves, like good old Bob Marley said, God rest his soul. But I'm talking to your hearts, everybody, listeners, people. Eric, Jeff, I'm talking to me, because I'm still getting rid of stuff that has been back in the cobwebs for years. But every time I realize that little something, that even regret is a debt consciousness. Yeah. It is a state of debt consciousness. You got to let yourself off the hook, let yourself free, and let yourself love.
Well, thank you for saying that. Absolutely. Well, this is how things are going to work out. Jeff, the editing ninja over here, will get everything all cleaned up for us and get all of our boogers cleaned up, and it'll make us sound make us sound like $1 million. Sound good?
Yeah, man. Sounds good. I appreciate you.
Mark, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your music with us.
It was an honor.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it, boys.
All right. Well, when it's all ready to come out, I'll send this to your PR person, and please share it wherever you possibly can. We'd appreciate it.
I definitely do that. I appreciate it. Hey, don't see you in the future. I'll see you in the pasture.
All right, man. Thank you so much. Take care. Good night.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Everybody says their last goodbyes. Move to the sunshine, fight the grip of nights. If they ever take from you, then you plug out both their